Hello and welcome to section 2.5, factoring x squared plus bx plus c. Our essential question is, how can you factor the trinomial x squared plus bx plus c into the product of two binomials? What you are going to learn is how to factor x squared plus bx plus c. All right, so basically what factoring is we're going backwards from the previous section where we had two binomials, say x plus 6 and x plus 4. We ended up multiplying it using the distributive property and coming up with something like x squared plus 10x plus 24. Okay, oops. So the process of factoring is going from this back to our two binomials. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking a look at this polynomial, and by the end we should come up with two binomials at the end. So once we factor. All right, so we're going to start off by labeling our polynomial. So our first term, our x squared term, okay, the number in front of the coefficient, I should say, of that term is going to be, we're going to call that a. The coefficient of our x term we'll call b, and our constant term we will call c. All right, so here I have drawn an x, okay? This is called the magic x of factoring. So what we're going to do is at the very top, okay, at our the top section of our x, so this piece right here, we're going to put down, we're always going to put down right there whatever the product of a times c is. Okay, so in this case we have 1 times 16. So whatever numbers, the numbers are what we're working with. So we have 1 and 16. So 1 times 16 gives us 16. So that's what goes there. Down a little higher. All right. The bottom part of our x, so this part right here of our magic x, okay, is going to be our b term. Okay, so our b term. So that's going to be just the number 10. Okay, we're just using the numbers. No need for the variables at this point. All right, so what we're going to do now, okay, I want to look for two numbers, blank, blank, that one multiply to give me 16 and add to give me a 10. Okay, so we got to think of this kind of two ways. We're trying to find two numbers that multiply to give me 16. So multiply to give me the top number, and also add up to 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start thinking of, well, what numbers multiply to give me 16? Well, I can think 4 plus 4, right? 4 times 4 gives me 16, but it also should add up to 10. So 4 plus 4 is not 10, so those two numbers don't work out. So then what I need to do is think of a different multiplication. Let's say 8 times 2. 8 times 2 gives me 16. 8 plus 2 is 10. All right, so these are exactly the factors that we're looking for. So now we have our terms here, and we can go ahead and fill in our binomial. Now, with this, our binomial is going to be something x plus or minus something times x plus or minus something else. And that plus or minus number is going to be these two numbers that we came up with on our x. So our first binomial is x plus 8, and our second binomial is x plus 2. So this is our trinomial factored out into two binomials. Okay, so this is our answer when it's asking us to factor. Okay, the factor of x squared plus 10x plus 16 is x plus 8 times x plus 2. If I were to multiply these two binomials together, I would get that. So this is how to get from the trinomial into our two pairs of binomials. So notice how we're going backwards, and this is how we do it. All right, let's try something different when b is negative. Okay, so again, Let's label our terms. So this is going to be A, B, and C. So at the top, we always do A times C. At the bottom, we do B. So A times C, 1 times 12. It's pretty much going to be always just 1 times something until the next section. In the bottom, we're going to put a negative 8. All right, so here we need two numbers that multiply to give me 12 and add up to give me a negative 8. Okay, so now it gets a little bit tricky because we need some kind of change in our two numbers in order to fulfill this negative sign, right? So again, we're going to end up with two products right here. X plus or minus something and X plus or minus something else. All right, so let's start thinking of the products that give us 12. Okay, the first one that comes to mind is 4 times 3. 4 times 3 gives me 12, but 4 plus 3 gives me 7. 4 minus 3 gives me 1. Okay, now that I have a subtraction symbol, that means that one of these is going to be negative, or both could be negative. So that doesn't work. So let's try 6 and 2, right? 6 times 2 gives me 12. 6 plus 2 gives me a positive 8. Okay, so that's close enough. So now we're going to have to make some changes, right? I need them to add up to a negative 8, but 6 plus 2 gives me a positive 8. So what if I make this negative? Well, now that's going to give me negative 4. But if I make both of them negative, okay, negative 6 plus negative 2 gives me a negative 8. Now you have to double check that over here and make sure that it gives me still the positive 12, which it does because a negative times a negative is a positive. So now that is going to be the numbers that go into our binomial. So our answer or our factor for our trinomial is x minus 6, x minus 2. Next example, we have a polynomial here that has the c value as negative. So you're going to see that that's also going to change something in our figuring out our factors. So once again, label A, B, and C. Top of our x, we're going to have A times C. Bottom of our x, we're going to have our B term. 1 times negative 21 is negative 21, right? So that's our C term here. At the bottom, we have our B term, which is 4. All right. So then now we're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 21 and add to positive 4. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to try to figure out two numbers that multiply to give me 21. So I think of 7 times 3. Now, 7 times 3 doesn't give me a negative 21. So here is what we got to think about right here. If I make both of these negative, that's not going to give me a negative 21 because negative times a negative gives me a positive. So here's where we have to think about it. One of these, 7 and 3, has to be a negative and one has to be a positive. Okay, and you have to be very strategic about it because you also want the sum of these to give you a positive 4. If I make the 7 negative, these are going to multiply to give me negative 21 because a positive times a negative gives me a negative 21. All right, but if I add these two together, it won't give me a positive 4. It will actually give me a negative 4 because negative 7 is larger than 3. So that's an easy fix because now all you got to do is switch it over because this is still going to multiply to that. And then when you add the 7 and the negative 3 together, you're going to get a positive 4. 7 plus a negative 3 or 7 minus 3. So now that I've confirmed that it goes both ways, right, all the way around, I can fill that into my table, into my binomials. So I have a plus 7, x plus 7, and x minus 3. Okay, so this is the factor for x squared plus 4x minus 21. All right, so this is the end of our lesson. You should have learned how to factor when everything in the polynomial is positive. We saw an example of when b is negative, and we also saw an example when c is negative. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.